So I decided to talk some boxing. A lot of different things going on. Some good stuff about boxing. I'm always happy to talk boxing. It's not my favorite sport, but I just love, combat sports. I like MMA too. I'm trying to see, can I transition to covering maybe some MMA fights, occasionally if it piques my interest. But we gonna talk some boxing, and I see that a lot of these fighters, and I'm gonna just say this: the more videos you make about Devin Haney, the more you're gonna help his popularity rise. Now, everybody seems to be angered and triggered, while at the same time they're attacking Devin Haney and shaming him and all this kind of stuff. And I'm gonna say this again: I have no issue with what Devin Haney is doing with Ryan Garcia, because somebody got to take a stand. And why not it be Devin Haney? At the end of the day, I'm going to say this again. The reason why a lot of Mexicans are mad at Ryan Garcia Haney on the up and up. And then, at the same time, he was given an opportunity to prove that he was clean, who Ryan Garcia said out of his own mouth that they could test him 24 hours a day. And then when he got his bluff called, then he says, oh, well, they're suing me. What do that have to do with anything? What did that have to do with anything? You said you want to clear your name and all this stuff, and that you didn't cheat. And and I saw Blair the Flair Cobb, clout chasing and talking all this stuff. And the thing is, I like Blair the Flair Cobb. I disagree with him. When I say I disagree with him to the full extent, not of the law, but just basically, at the end of the day, he's using this opportunity because we know negativity sells. The thing is, what's tripping me out, people seem to be, even when it pertains to talking about racism in boxing, in particularly towards black fighters. Now, everybody is mad at Teofimo, coming after Teofimo, but you got to tell the truth. Garcia said something even worse, saying that he wanted to execute black people. And that's the problem that I have with guys that are just sitting up here trying to overlook this. But this is what they always do. They always tell black people, and particularly black men, just forget about something. Just sit up there and take it. Hey, forget about reparations. Forget about slavery. Forget about mass incarceration. Forget about the prison pipeline. Forget about disenfranchisement. Being disenfranchised. Just forget about it. Forget about police brutality. Just don't say nothing. This is victimhood and all this stuff. Like, listen, that stuff don't work on me, especially coming from somebody. It don't even work on me with black people saying that. What the hell it look like me caring what some Hispanic think? Oh, and by the way, Fat Joe full of shit too. But I'm not gonna give Fat Joe the publicity that he won't, talking about that bogus interview he did with Shannon Sharp, talking about black and brown should unite. Hey, they've been plenty of chances to do that. You had over 60 years to make that happen, and hey, you chose to align yourself with other people when it was all said and done. So let's not do that. We're not going to play that kind of game. But then again, Fat Joe then had 30 years of being able to speak comfortably and think he could talk about the black community that you're not part of. Because I'm going to say this again, the Fat Joe, you're not one of us. You are a white Hispanic. You ain't, because that's basically what you are. Just because somebody sit up here blurting the N-word, don't make them black. And don't mean that they got black in them. Some of y'all was trying to fight for Izzy, what's her name? Iggy Giselle to be able to say the N-word, whatever the hell her name is, and she ain't been relevant. Y'all be trying to fight for Eminem to say the N-word, and Eminem is lily white. So please miss me with that BS. But the more you make videos about Devin Haney, going in on Devin Haney, whether you side with him or you against him and saying he's this, he's that, you are helping his popularity grow. So when he does come back, when he fights again, the anticipation. See, the thing is, Ryan Garcia can't put out articles on his own or put out stuff on his own without talking about black people or talking about another black man. Ryan Garcia isn't that interesting of a person. When people talk about clout chasing, black people, we are the clout. But it just goes to show you how ass backwards a lot of us think. You got people that's okay with what Ryan Garcia said. And I'm just going to tell you, if you're a black person that's okay with what Ryan Garcia said, you can stay the hell off my channel. You want to make excuses and say, oh, he wasn't talking about me when he said all that stuff? How was he not talking about you if you consider yourself black? The KKK don't kill or don't murder certain type of black people. They would murder any black person that they came across. So when you say stuff like that, you're not making no kind of sense. And you just a damn coward, and that's all it come down to. And you know, like I said before, I done interviewed Blair the Flare Cobb plenty of times. You know, I'll see can I get him on the show, because I need to speak to him and I see this from a different perspective. But like I said, this whole Devin Haney thing is, you know, to a certain degree, helped the popularity of boxing because everybody got an opinion about it. So once again, Devin Haney is helping the sport based off what's going on. At the end of the day, we know it's just a lot of dirty fighters out there. And that's what they're mad about, because they're dirty. A lot of them are dirty and they just don't want to tell the truth. And I think a lot of them know that this is running rampant in boxing, and they consider Devin Haney somewhat of a whistleblower. And then, you know, I exposed a lot of people, you know, when they was trying to play dumb, just like I was, you know, forced to basically further expose Tank's team for being, you know, untruthful and disingenuous, talking about they never heard of boxers suing each other. And I easily debunked that. I may not be a professional fighter, but I know my history of boxing. So, as I said before, the more you talk about Devin Haney, the more you make these videos about, oh, this, that, you're helping Devin Haney's popularity. And then I hear people sitting up there saying, oh, Devin Haney makes himself unlikable. Unlikable how? Because the dude cheated. He cheated. You got it in your system. Thing is having a little bit, unless you took a lot. At the end of the day, Ryan Garcia was trying to his system. So stop the cap with this BS. Do you have any idea who you talking to? You talking to me? I always make it make sense. I broke this down on several occasions. So continue. I encourage you to continue to make these videos. Just like when everybody was making all these videos about Terrence Crawford. Calling him out his name. Calling him, you know, saying he's on the plantation. Calling him top ranked Toby and all this kind of stuff. All that happened was you helped Terrence Crawford's popularity grow. And then after he beat Errol Spence, he was going on mainstream media doing a victory tour. So you actually helped Terrence Crawford. Y'all know how this works. For real. Everybody knows that negativity sells. Unfortunately, especially in this day and age, where news is the only thing that's considered news, which that's absolutely false, but nobody focuses on good things that's getting done in the world. That just goes to show you the mindset of a lot of people here, especially on YouTube. Days are just a lot different. People don't have no morals, don't have no dignity, you know, no respect for anybody or anything. Everybody is for themselves. And it's scary to see where we're headed. It's at the point where you can't trust nobody.
And if you look like me, you've been at the point where you can't trust nobody. You can't even trust people that look like you, that you think you should be able to trust, because you have to worry about them stabbing you in the back. Like I said, look at how many of these dudes stabbed Devin Haney in the back. Devin Haney never did or said anything about other fighters unless, he was trying to set up a fight. So keep the hate going. Now, something else I want to talk about, like I said before, even though it's controversy surrounding boxing, it's good because we're talking about boxing. Now people are still talking about the situation with Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. And I listened to an interview with Sean Zazelle and Radio Raheem. And they were just breaking down the fight. And the whole issue came up re-watching the fight. And how you saw it the first time. And like I said before, a lot of times with fights, especially that's very competitive, you should watch it a second time, because then you'll get a different opinion. Just like we talk about, just like we've been talking about Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler for almost 40 years on who we thought really won that fight. And we're headed towards the 40th anniversary of that fight. It's always going to be a controversial fight because there are a lot of people that thought Hagler should have got the nod, which I thought after watching that fight several times. I think I scored it 7-5 for Hagler, or I had it 7-4-1 even for Hagler. Now I understand why Sugar Ray Leonard got the nod, because he started off real quick, but then after the fourth round he started to fade out a little bit, and then Hagler started to impose his will. He started to make minor adjustments, and then it became, all the way after the fourth round, it became a very competitive fight. So that's why to this day a lot of people have Sugar Ray Leonard winning, or Marvin Hagler. I think what they should do, I think they should have a special, and they should just have boxing experts, and they should replay the whole fight in its entirety, and then and then just basically let us watch it with the sound off, and then we all do our own scores, and then we do a national poll to decide who won that fight, because that's a very controversial fight. Just like Beterbiev and Bivol. It's controversial, but it wasn't a robbery. And I just don't like the fact that people will say something that's close and competitive was a robbery. I'm going to say this again. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano's wasn't a robbery. I understand why Katie Taylor got the nod. Devin Haney, Lomachenko was not a robbery. Okay? Bivol Beterbiev wasn't a robbery. If you want to talk about fights that you can make an argument was a robbery, was Julio Cesar Chavez, Pernell Whitaker. That was a robbery. That should be considered a robbery. Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield won. That was a robbery. Lennox Lewis clearly won that fight 9-3. Second fight a little bit more closer, but I still had Lennox Lewis winning that fight 7-5. Larry Holmes, Michael Spinks too. You could have made an argument that Larry Holmes won that second fight because he hurt Spinks in that fight. So there've been some competitive fights where, it could have went either way. And those are some of the fights I can think of. Some people think that Manny Pacquiao beat Floyd Mayweather, which I don't think so.
I thought Floyd Mayweather clearly and equivalently won that fight. But there are some people that say Manny Pacquiao won that fight. I don't know what fight they're watching, but there's people that think Manny Pacquiao should have got the nod versus Floyd Mayweather. But when I hear people say robbery for a competitive fight, nah, I just have to disagree with that because I don't think it was a robbery. I do not think Bivol and Beterbiev was a robbery. I watched it again. I've watched it 3 times so far, and I had Beterbiev winning that fight. Now we can holler about the scorecards. We can holler about the scorecards where somebody gave Arthur Beterbiev 8 rounds. Okay, fine. Well, can you clearly give Bivol 8 rounds? We're watching. I have no idea what fight you were watching, but you wasn't watching Beterbiev versus Bivol if you think that Bivol won between 8 and 9 rounds. Clearly, I'm sorry, that's just not accurate. But what I'm saying is we just have a lot of controversial fights. And then sometimes do I think the controversial is, created just to have conversation about it? Is it blown up? Sometimes. Do people really believe what they're putting out there? I think some of it, I believe that they may actually have belief of what they're saying, but then I think sometimes people like to just put something out there to get people talking. But to try to make it look like the fight was just this robbery. If you look at Bivol got beat up. Now Bivol has, basically trying to contact and get in contact with the sanctioning bodies because he wants them to order a immediate rematch. Now they're saying that Arthur Beterbiev the IBF have ordered Arthur Beterbiev to face his mandatory. Now, whatever direction Arthur Beterbiev goes, that's up to him because at the end of the day, Dimitri Bivol should have put that they wanted a rematch. But it appears that they didn't have a rematch clause. Now, I was first told that they did have a rematch clause, but apparently they don't. Now, do I think a rematch is warranted in this fight? Absolutely. Absolutely, I think a rematch is warranted. And would I like to see it again? Absolutely. Do you think the fans would like to see it again? Absolutely. And I found it funny, that, Tank is sitting up there talking about that Beterbiev isn't that good and he's a bum and all that kind of stuff. Tank just needs to stop it. What Tank is doing is basically trying to sell this lousy ass fight that nobody cares about with Lamont Roach. If Tank's other options would have came through, like Rayo and Cruz and all them dudes, because that's who Tank intended to fight. But Cruz came off a loss. Rayo said that he wasn't interested in fighting the rest of this year. So with that being said, Tank turned to Roach. There was other options out there, better options, and the thing is, Tank could have fought. What I don't like about Tank could have fought Gary Russell Jr. years ago. But, certain people prevented that fight from happening. And we know who certain people is. I'm not going to say this person's name because of some, personal stuff that's going on. So I'm going to show some courtesy and some respect towards this person. But we all know who stopped that fight from happening. But then you can make an argument that Tank won that fight. Like I say, Tank talks a good game, but then he doesn't seem to practice what he preaches. Lamont Roach is coming up from 130. I know people going to say, but, Tank fought at 130. But, there was somebody that you could already have fought at 130. 135, Tank. Now, we all know Teofimo don't want it. Teofimo is a clout chaser. Teofimo is a dude that just say he want to fight dudes, but he doesn't really want to fight them.
he uses these dudes basically to keep his name in circulation. So that's what's going on with him. Because Teofimo turns down everybody. But he wants us to believe that he wants to fight Terrence Crawford and that he will knock Terrence Crawford out. That doesn't make any kind of sense. Why would you continue to call out a dude who's already, 3 weight classes above you pretty much? Or 2 weight classes above you? But you turn down fights with Devin Haney. You don't seem interested in fighting Tank. So when we hear you say that you believe that you could beat Terrence Crawford, we don't believe you. And Teal just comes across as a guy, he wants the fame, the fortune, he wants the notoriety, but he doesn't seem like he wants to, go through, hell and back to get it. And that's just how he comes across. He comes across as a fraud. And then he says all this absurd stuff just to get attention and have people talking about him. But at the same time, he doesn't seem like he's really after the big fights. And then if you look at Teofimo's performances, you have to wonder, is his confidence there as well? Okay, great performance versus Josh Taylor. I give him credit for that. He fought very well, Josh Taylor. But then you look at his last performance, struggled against a dude that they basically put in front of him to stop. And then afterwards, or should I say before that, he had a questionable decision win versus Jermaine Ortiz, in which many observers thought that Jermaine Ortiz did enough to win that fight. I had Jermaine Ortiz winning that fight. I thought that he clearly outboxed Teofimo Lopez, but once again, I'm not a judge. I'm not a judge, even though most observers had Jermaine Ortiz soundly winning that fight. Where Teofimo was no Arthur Better Bead, he wasn't pushing the action. There were times where he was lackadaisical. There were times where he was like, he seemed hesitant to come in. So that's what I think of that. And just here, and getting back to Tank, once again, Tank is showing me, and his team is making us believe what people with common sense understand. This Lamont Roach fight, it's not gonna do good. I think it'll sell out. It'll do what it need to do. And all the celebrities will come out to watch Tank, but I think on pay-per-view it's not gonna do very well. It's not gonna do very well like the Frank Martin fight. But Tank's team will use that as an excuse to say blacks don't sell. Well, if he fought Shakur, it'll do very well. I know that him and Shakur do very well. The thing is with Terrence Crawford and Spence, it just took way too long. It took way too long to happen. And then there was hesitance to make that fight. I think it came like maybe 2 years too late. I think the best opportunity to have that fight was in 2022. And you still just couldn't get that fight to happen. It finally happened in 2023. And Terrence Crawford, we all know what he did. He destroyed Errol Spence. He put Errol Spence damn near in temporary retirement. And we're looking to see Errol Spence hopefully in January. Now, it's not been made official about what Errol Spence's next move is. You're just hearing about a return in January, but nothing is signed and sealed. Now, from what I've been told, Tim Tszyu, he fights tomorrow. It's going to be the first time that you're having a
Amazon event on Prime that you could watch for free. Now, they're saying if Tim Tszyu is successful, that he gets to fight with Terrence Crawford, or that they'll start negotiating a fight with Terrence Crawford. From what I've heard, they are in pre-negotiations. Where pre-negotiations means that a phone call has been made about, okay, well, if Terrence Crawford is interested in this fight, if you win, we'll resume talk on Monday or Tuesday. Usually they do these negotiations, like usually they do it on Tuesday. But I would be interested in a Tim Tszyu Terrence Crawford fight. I think that'll be a very interesting fight. I'd like to see it, you know. But Errol Spence and Fundora hasn't been made official yet. And then plus one of the sanctioned bodies told Fundora if he makes that fight that he's going to be stripped of one of the belts. So I think the only belt they would be fighting for, I think, is the WBC. But anyway, you guys, appreciate you guys tapping in. Finna just chill out for a minute before I start work. Catch you guys later.